Hey everybody, NicMakesPlays here. Today, we're going to go over my champion tier list. This will show you the best and worst of all the champions in the current meta. The criteria for this is how strong they are in their current deck and how good the deck is in the meta. The game will never be in a vacuum. It can never be like, how good is this individual champ? It'll always be relative to the cards, supporting cards, stuff like that. So it's kind of like how good is every champ at their peak in their best deck. With no further ado, let's get started. First up, to no surprise, is Ahri. Ahri kind of being the best deck in the game. Ahri is so insane right now. Ahri is able to have a strong early game, letting you draw extra cards off Dancing Droplet, chipping in damage with her quick attack, letting you reuse Kennen to help level him up. So she's very good in the early game. In the late game, when she's leveled up, she gives you a chance to do it like 12 plus damage elusive lethal every single turn safely. You can attack with her in a bunch of elusives. If it goes through, you win the game. If it doesn't, you just try again next turn. Pretty safe, hard to stop. Like, the best you can do, really, is try and stun or like cut off their chain by like killing your own unit or recalling your own unit. But then they can just try again. She also discounts all the cards that you recall through this like game attempt, and you can just draw more and more off Dancing Droplet. So just safely going for lethal every single turn. Best deck in the game. Very good. Next is Kennen. Kennen is actually like really good, but a lot of it's increased by the fact you can summon him from the deck with Kinkyu Wayfinder. Like being able to just summon more copies of their champion, juggling from your deck is very strong. Nonetheless, though, he can ruin entire strategies on his own. Against like rally decks, you can just use the mark. It costs 0 to stun enemies. You can use it as removal spells to remove enemies. You can do all kinds of stuff with him. The 2 attack and the quick attack in the early game puts in a lot of chip damage. So in general, just a very, very strong champion. Next is Auction. Auction is insanely strong in Runeterra. The reason that he's not like, doing these guys already Kennen is that Ione is the best region in the game right now. Stream is probably one of the weakest, if not the weakest. So he's carrying all of Stream on his back, but he's insanely powerful. You can play him on turn 2, and you start getting this crazy value engine where you can dig, get new cards. Then that transforms into another thing that can make you draw 2, discount all your cards, go for game, reborn things that enemy team vulnerable. It's just so much value. And even when you use that second thing, like you get the World's Palace off, you're able to just do it again. Another one just pops up. He also has quick attack, which is very good at all the vulnerable in the deck. So pretty much an insane card just in a region that needs some help right now. Next is Zoe. Pretty straightforward, just value engine that you have to remove or they win the game via her level up form. And she pretty much always just trades up. What I mean by that is she's a 1-mana 1/1 that if you attack in a super cool star chart and they kill with like Mystic Shot, you already got super cool star chart, right? So you already got value if they don't remove her immediately. And even if they do, like using a Mystic Shot on Zoe is value because they're using 2 mana kill 1 mana card. Pretty much just always gets value. Alright, so next we have Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate being extremely versatile, red card particularly being amazing this season against like stuff like Ahri Kennen and aggro and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can clear entire boards, kind of the card you have to be afraid of in a lot of decks with 1 health units. You can use them to refuel with the blue card, using to stun big threats like Poppy and just stronger cards, I guess, with gold card, and threatens to level up. That's very strong. His versatility kind of gets him his spot. Next is Misfortune. Scouts are popping off right now, and it's mostly due to Misfortune. The deck kind of is make or break. A lot of times it's like, oh, they're doing Misfortune, they win. They didn't, they lose. That's really weak about Misfortune, but very strong to draw it, making her such an impactful card of the game. Obviously using her with the Scout keyword to get her effect off twice in 1 turn, very strong. Ruins enemy blocks by having Scout killing all 1 health units, and then also making their trades a lot worse in general, and then levels up very fast with the Scouts, so very good. Next is Trundle, just buffed to a 4/6. Kind of just holds down the entire mid-game for these SI Frere decks that are popping up everywhere, such as Field of Rush. Being able to go turn 5 and just play a 4/6 regeneration kind of just ruins all attacks. Really lets you control the pace of the game for control decks, which is exactly what they want. And off Field of Rush, his level 2 form is Overwhelm, letting you pack huge damage, you can atrocity him. Kind of just like a one-man band, I guess, just controlling the whole game. Next is Senna. Senna, extremely strong, kind of lets you outgrind people with Darkness. Darkness being one of the best decks right now. You're kind of just able to continuously get infinite value, Darkness after Darkness after Darkness, also making all your kill spells fast. So yeah, on your turn, you're just getting more value, and on their turn, you have more answers to the threats via her effect. Just kind of like, yeah, just lets you outvalue and outgrind most decks in the game, which is super hard to deal with once she gets going. Next is Veigar. Veigar, very powerful in himself in a different way. You just have to stick him on the field turn 4, and if he sits in the field 1 or 2 times, then your Darknesses are doing insane damage. You can just win the game from there. And he is your final win con a lot of time. Senna being 1 time, or one of your win cons to outgrind people. Veigar being your other just to kill them outright with his level up ability. Letting Darkness go to the Nexus. Next is Elise. Elise is so versatile right now. The face of Spider aggro, pushing insane damage to 2/3 Fearsome, and then she gets you 1/1 Spiders. She also able to give you a level up, make your whole forward Fearsome. But that's just one part of how versatile that Elise is. She also is good in control. You can use her in like P and Z control with Karina and Kindred and the Sentinels to just be fearsome. The Spiderlings, if they block them, chips away damage to enemy blockers. And then you can easily kill them with removal spells. She's good in Iceborne Spiders, just generating spiders that become 3/3s, the Iceborne Legacy. So she's just super versatile right now. Pretty much just one of the best 2-drops in the whole game, if not the best. Next is Pantheon. Pretty high up there. A lot of the reason I put him up here is because, well, A, Pantheon decks are really good right now. But B, it's like, he gives you payoff for just the kind of like grindy, unit-based, stat-based mid-range strategy. You pack in some Sharpshites, some gems off Mountain Goat, stuff like that, Pale Cascade, and you're able to just have this win con you're leveling up in the deck by just doing your deck already functions properly. Just doing the stat-based combat things, and then bam, you have a just chance to win the game outright. Getting Scout and Elusive, you can just, just win the game, and he can just, it's just a die roll. It's like, oh, did I get Scout Elusive? Okay, I win. And if not, I'm still putting a lot of pressure with my well-statted units, so very good. Next is Kindred. I think Kindred's insanely strong enough. Central Kindred, PNZ really strong. Just all kinds of Kindred homebrew popping around. Kindred can just remove units after units of units, quick level up, starts getting huge stats, has quick attack. You're able to always chip away 4 damage with them in turn 4, or they risk, getting a mark for you. I guess the reason I put her this high is a lot of decks can't deal with her. Some can, or I guess them. Some can, but decks like Scouts and Aggro don't have removal spells like that, and you're able to just start chipping away insane value. It just gets snowballed, and then you win the game straight up. So she's very dominant in some matchups, and pretty good in most. Next we have Pike. So Pike single-handedly carries all of Lurk. Without Pike, Lurk would be like not that strong. He's kind of like, oh, I hit Pike, okay, Lurk wins. If not, it's not a big deal. A lot of times, if they hit Rek'Sai, I'm happy because they didn't hit Pike. Pike just can kill cards outright, and then also becomes a quick attack unit that can level up and then blow up your whole board at will. So he just carries the whole archetype on his back and is what makes Lurk so strong. Alright, so next we have Lee Sin. Lee Sin a bit weaker than he usually is this season, but nonetheless still very strong, especially in tournaments, being one of the best tournament decks pretty much all the time. He's able to just be very polarizing when he does. Certain decks can deal with him, and then like Arcana, they can beat him. That's why he's a bit low right now, and he's not a big deal. But decks that can't, it just feels like there's nothing you can do a lot of the time because the deck, he gives himself barrier. They have notifies, they have denies, they have twin disciplines, all kinds of stuff that can just destroy control decks, destroy particular strategy that can't deal with them, and one-shot the Nexus in one go. Also, the best way to complement Eye of the Dragon. Obviously, Eye of the Dragon can pull down the game very well, and then you can just set up to release it and kill them one turn. Next is Sivir. Also a bit weaker because, Kenanari, Kenan's Mark of the Rose Mark of the Storm, allows you to just easily get rid of her Spell Shield, make her a lot less of a threat, but if you can't do that, you're not playing Arcana, whatever. Just a 4-mana 5/3 quick attack was really good with Spell Shield. And you're able to just get all these chip damage away with her. You're able to clip the vulnerable units with her quick attack, hard to deal with. And then she's level, give your whole field Spell Shield, go for game. Very good Golden Aegis, give your whole field barrier, so it's really good. Next is Raven. Got nerfed to a 3/2, but nonetheless still a really strong card. One of the greatest cards. Just gives you so much value. His thing is his axes give you value in terms of discard fodder and cards that activate your discards. So he fixes about pretty much every hand in Draven Rumble, Draven Scion, what have you. Giving you ways to use your Lost Souls or giving you things to discard with your Get Excited. Very versatile, chips in damage on turn 3 via the quick attack, so you're putting on pressure with aggro. Very huge. Next is Teemo. It's kind of crazy that Teemo's so high for being so simple, but he's just so versatile. He does really well with strategies like Swain, level Swain, Puff Caps. You have Ezreal Puff Caps, you have Caitlyn Puff Caps. He just does a lot of damage on turn 1, and if you don't answer him, he just keeps doing insane damage, giving you big win cons that are now more reliable with Karina Mastermind being out to hit all the Puff Caps. So Teemo is very good and kind of finds himself in all kinds of strategies like Teemo Sejuani, stuff like that. Very versatile card, and also in Battle City, discount off Mayor. So yeah, he has a lot of different roles in the game. Next is Lulu. I think Lulu's very strong, especially with the Flame Chomper builds going around. Because with Flame Chompers, you can turn these free cards you just discard to the field, 0/2 challengers, into just kill spells, basically, that are 4/4 units over and over and over again. Quick level up, and she's also Battle City, very good region. Discount off Mayor. She can have a 2-mana card that buffs all your units and stuff like that. So she's just really, really hard to deal with. Lulu Poppy, she's also good, giving your challengers stronger attack or more aggro pressure, buffing your elusives going for game. So very good at the rally decks as well. Next is Lysandra. Lysandra really strong because Thrall's really strong right now, but she just does 5 things. Ice Shard every turn, gives you Frozen Thrall, which is your win condition, also gives you more consistency. If you don't open a Frozen Thrall on turn 1, you can play her in turn 3 to Frozen Thrall. Gives your Nexus tough, making it a lot of hard to shut down decks outright. and then it just gives you the Watcher, alt win con against certain matchups. She just does so many things, and she's a great card to see at pretty much most or any time. After you get the 8/8s with Frozen Thralls or before to help get the Frozen Thralls. So yeah, very, very strong, can win the game on herself. Very easy level condition. Next we have Nami. Nami unanswered just buffs your entire board. She just makes you have walls of blockers, walls of offensive pressure. Very good with Shelly. She just start buffing your whole board. She's used with Twisted Fate and in Shellfolk piles and PNZ piles right now. Kind of lets you allow you for a lot of homebrews that are very strong by just buffing all your units, which is just really crazy and carried away. Next, we have Gangplank Sejuani. It kind of fell off a good bit, but still very strong nonetheless. Gangplank able to close game Pirate aggro, or Gangplank Sejuani push on a ton of damage with the barrels. Pretty quick level condition. I guess the thing about some A tiers, like, there's just games where you just level him by 5 or 6, and the game's just over. Like, you just have this insane damage output, blowing up their board, overrun pressure every turn, and you win the game. Next is Sejuani. Deadly could be higher than Gangplank. They have different roles, but are very similar. Level up the same way, but Sejuani's role is to kind of shut up the opponent. She's able to have it where against certain Demacia decks, they just can't answer her at all. Her level 4 just Frostbite every turn, and there's just nothing you can do. Kind of just stonewalls the game, and you just win from there. But also a very good removal unit. When summoned on turn 6, you just get something Frostbite, chip overwhelm damage, and then you just get rid of a card for free. So next we have Ezreal, the lowest of tier A. I wouldn't say he's particularly insane, because it's not like a Ezreal deck this amount, it's great. But the champion's just so crazy. When he's leveled up, which is very easy to do nowadays, with only needing 6 target enemies to level up, you just output insane damage. He comes on the field for 1 turn. He's dealing like 6+ damage. He sticks, he's dealing like 10+ damage. You can deal 20 damage. Even in decks that aren't built to do that, if they just can't answer him, you can just keep dealing damage over and over again and just close the game. He's just a great combo deck finisher, and probably always will be one of the combo's main finishers. Very strong champ. Runeterra also gives you Mystic Shots as his champ spell, or generates them himself. Luce is very good, so Ezreal is very good. Next we have Zilean. Outperforming his previous placements. This is probably the best he's ever been. So right now, there's a lot of good Zilean decks. You have Zilean Xerath on the rise, really good against Scouts, decent against Ari Kennen. Time Bombs are just insane right now against all the 1-health units like Dancing Droplet, the Moor, and stuff like that. You're able to just get these Time Bombs that can just blow up the enemy field. They're hard to interact because they're landmarks. If you get 2, you just win the game because Zilean's level up form gives you insane value. You just kind of can't outgrind him. He's leveled up. His only downside is that his champ spell is pretty weak, but outside of that, just lets you choose your draw, blows up enemy field, a win con that is really hard to stop, high health. Like, he's really good, and if you have multiples, you can just let him die, and then play another one, get more Time Bombs to your deck, and start slamming out Time Bombs to enemy deck. Very, very good. Next is Shyvana. Really good champion right now, just to be amazing in the Pantheon decks or Dragons themselves. Just very hard to deal with the combos of Dragon Chow, and especially with drawing extra cards off Wind and White Flame. There's more dragons in the game. Comes into the game as a 5/6, and she's able to just hold down the mid game, making it so if they block, you get Fury. If they don't block, they take 5. She levels very fast, and you get straight every turn, which is free removal every single turn. You can just kind of control the whole mid game by yourself and safely become a threat to deal with, and also transition you into the late game. Next we have Fizz, pretty well-rounded. His best role right now is being a 1-mana card that gives you 2 out of 4 for Yordles and Arms. He is both Bandle and Bilgewater, so that's very strong. He's a 1-drop to activate your Yordles and Arms. He's also elusive, which is good against blocking Ari Kennen. Elusive is also good to just put on the pressure when you do use Yordle and Arms. You can use him and like 2 portals off a portal cannon to go for elusive lethal. So very well-rounded champion, very strong for a 1-mana cost card. Next to Nivea. Nivea very strong right now in the metagame as Freyr's on a huge rise. And Nivea buffs, Trundle buffs, Vengeance buff, and that's no different for the Nivea deck itself. So she is just able to shut out certain strategies in the game right now, which is the box is premium, Vengeance costs less, you just play a very, very controlling style, and Nivea just keeps reborning. The Heroine can summon like 5 of her. Just kind of the late game queen, if you will, and that's very, very strong against all kinds of different decks in the meta right now. Next is Rumble. Rumble hold down the discard archetype by himself. Obviously, Draven gives you the consistency, but Scion's kind of in the past, Jinx is in the past, but Draven Rumble. On turn 4, if you're attacking on turn 4 and you have Rumble, you can just discard a bunch of cards from your hand, like Flame Chompers, Lost Soul, Fallen Rider, get all their effects, and then push for huge damage. They have to block Rumble. If they don't, they take 5 to the face, then 1 from Impact, that's 6. He's halfway to his level condition, so basically he just force blocks, all the blocks are back, so he has Quick Attack, hard to answer from Spell Shield. If they kill him, you can play another one that has Spell Shield again, and then he levels up fairly quickly, usually in 2 attacks, giving you refuel, which is a thing that's pretty good for Agrex. It may sound weird, like, oh, why would you want to refuel an Agrex? But one issue of Agrex is running out of steam, and he allows you to just continuously get more units and more things by generating Mecha Yordles, so you don't run out of steam as aggro, and you can keep grinding them out with the new cards you're generating while also drawing the burn spells and finishing the game. So next is Viego, can win games all by himself. A lot of Viego Kindred, Ionia, all kinds of different versions of Viego right now. He's just really hard to deal with, and if you don't, then you win the game. I mean, he can stall, he's very good at generating blockers with the encroaching mist he gives. He allows you to play powerful cards like Invasive Hydrovine, which is a win con on its own. So his whole thing, the Commemorative Soldier, Viego, Hydrovine, is just very hard to deal with. It's basically just a different form of control and / mid-range, I guess, depending on how you build it. And if you can't do it with Viego, he will win the game. Next is Xerath, got buffed, that's 1 more health. Not here for the Ascended archetype, but for Zillion Xerath. Been popping up a lot right now. The Xerath very good against Auric Cannon because a lot of the units have 1 health. Very quick levels with Rolling Sand, stuff like that. Hard to kill. He's just a back row champion that got buffed by having 1 extra health, making him hard to deal with. Like, you can't get excited anymore. And if you don't deal with him, he cleans your entire board over and over and over again, safely making it to the turn we play the Arsenal and you win the game. Next is Rek'Sai. Looks really good right now in the meta. Pretty good role, has unique matchup spreads. But Rek'Sai, obviously being part of why it's so strong. Pyke, obviously being the crazy, I gotta win the game bud. But Rek'Sai, very close, allows you to get insanely strong units, especially good against Demacia, where like their whole thing is like having good stats, and you just have these units with like 5+ attack stats in turn 3 or 4. With Rek'Sai, if you don't even like lurk and you just hit Rek'Sai by chance, your whole field is just buffed. The rest of the entire game, you just snowball ahead. Next is Talia, really good in the Frozen Thrall deck, able to duplicate landmarks when they're close to being done. So if you have like a 1 or 2 countdown Frozen Thrall, you just use her on it and you get another Thrall. Can be a win con on her own. If you can just control the game for a little bit, you can poke it a few times with her Overwhelm and her ability, and then you can finish the game. Like kind of put them on a 2-turn clock. Also very good on the Frozen Thralls that have Promised Future on them because you duplicate that one and you're getting 4 Frozen Thralls. So just very good in the deck. Good defensive stats, good offensive ability. Kind of holds it down. Next is Diana. Got a huge buff. Diana's amazing in Dinosaur Invoke and in Nightfall, now being a card that can activate Nightfall herself. You play her first, then Nightfall. She pretty much is already really strong, and now you're able to just have different forms of consistency by playing her first, then get the Challenger, play her after the Challenger. Cleans up units every single turn, over and over and over again. In the actual Nightfall deck, very quick level up, so she can easily get 5+, 7+ attack, and continue to clear threats over and over and over again. The only downside is that her support, Nightfall cards are kind of weak right now, but her herself is a huge bomb and is what makes the Nightfall deck so potent. It even keeps it in the tier 2. Next is Zed. Zed, a bit weaker than previous metas, but nonetheless a huge threat. If you just, pass turn 2, bake mana for Twin Disciplines or Sharp Sight Track Zed, he can win the game by himself on turn 3. You play him, they try and kill him, you buff him, and you just attack. You kind of have to block him or he levels up, or you take insane damage. He just outputs more damage than pretty much any other card in the game, and allows you to win the game outright. He's one of the only champions who can just win the game by himself, but a bit weaker right now than he used to be, and if you draw him after turn 3, he does kind of fall off, so that puts him in B tier. Next is Ziggs, very good in Ziggs Talia. Really good in general, just poppy Ziggs aggro as well, because he's just a 3/4 that chips for 1 to his blocker and to the Nexus, making him hard to block, but also poking huge damage and hard to kill from his 4 health at only a 3-mana card. Also, his level is very fast in the Talia deck, and he's able to just start being a burn win condition that you have to deal with, which again is hard. He's also putting on aggro pressure, and the health keeps him alive when he's doing the damage each turn to the landmarks. Next is Caitlyn. Generally good card. Flash bombs are pretty decent to chip away damage on enemy units. Very good with Noxus. But in the Puff Cap deck, she can level up very fast. She can chip it damage with a quick attack, which is good, make it easier to kill with the Puff Caps. And when she levels up, she can deal like 7+ damage, 10+ damage. There are games where you just attack with her, and she just deals 10 to Nexus, and you win the game. Next is Vi. Vi is a champion decks are really built around, but she's more of a support champion. She usually always 2-for-1s because she has Challenger as well as the Tough. So you're able to just hit a small unit and then trade for a bigger unit, and you always get value out of Vi. Gives you access to killing big units because she can get 10 very easily. She's splashable in mid-range decks such as the Targon PNZ. She's going to control with like the Lee's Kindred type thing, PNZ Sentinel control. So she basically is always 2-for-1s and is very versatile. Last but not least for beats here is Aurelion Sol. Aurelion Sol is a huge win condition that Alex can't deal with. A lot of times it's just like, okay, Eclipse Dragon turn 7, turn 8 Aurelion Sol, I win the game. Targon's Peak can get off Field of Rush and level him very fast. Now he's 2020. Turn 6 off Targon's Peak, and even in Dragons, you just play him and you win the game. He's just kind of one of the strongest late game outlets in the whole game, and that makes him a deck that a lot of things can't deal with, and you just win outright when he's played. Next, we have Lux. A lot of times you have Lux and Minimorph. You can just control the pace of how the game goes. It's such a versatile combo. Hit the final spark as well of how the Minimorph backed up in the Jace Lux decks with Shelf Folk, making it one of the ways you stabilize with Shelf Folk decks or an alt win con if you don't have Shelf Folk. She really just holds it down, having barrier ruining their attack when you play her on turn 6, and also very good in the Jace Lux deck. Quinn, the highest that Quinn's ever been. Quinn is insanely high win right now. The deck is mostly carried by Misfortune, which is why Quinn's only C tier, but nonetheless, Quinn is being slept on. She's really good. Just complemented well with Genevieve, complemented with Cythria. Very easy to level up, contrary to popular belief for some reason. When you play her, you're able to put Valor attack, and then attack with her or something else. Get 2 out of 4, and then the next time you attack with her, whether it's with Rally or your next natural attack token turn, you just level her up, getting away all their blockers every turn, and just giving you a bunch of stats each turn. They're hard to deal with attacking with multiple times, especially with buffs. You have Fertimacia now being played in the deck, so Quinn really, really against the meta, being one of the only decks that has a favorable matchup into Ari Kennen in the game, puts her at high C tier. Poppy, right there next to it, also a different way you can play scouts, buffing your whole board, buffing the Protege, buffing your wide boards from Riot Warden, buffing your Stunning Suppressor if you play that, make it even harder for them to deal with. Kind of just a threat on turn 4. If they don't answer it, you just win the game. Even as a 2-3, if you play a deck with a lot of just 2 attack units, then you just buff your whole board over and over and over again. You can win the game. Obviously very good in Banner Tree to just buff the wide boards of low attack units, making them all threats, and also being your Demacia role for the Banner Tree. Next we have Thresh. Thresh is really good. Not crazy in this meta, but overall he's still decently high C tier because he's a good individual champion. The box is one of the best that's ever been this season. That's his champ spell, being very good to clear Ari Kennen units and just wide boards in general when they try and commit, like such as scouts and stuff like that. Just kind of holds down the game. Turn 5, you have Challenger with high health. Lets you be able to just get free kills, makes it hard for them to attack because it's high health, and also giving you the payoff of when the 6 units die, you get champion from your deck, and you can win the game outright. Heimer really good in Jace Heimer right now. Just a back row engine, value engine that just keeps giving and giving and giving. Give you elusives, try and chip for damage each turn to go for lethal. If you can't kill him, he keeps hitting more and more blockers. Once you level up, your elusives are even stronger, and he just works really well with Jace because obviously the 6 cost spells give you the elusives, which works well with Jace as well. And he's just a value engine. If you can't deal with them immediately, the game just steamrolls out of control in terms of like you having like 10 cards to their 3. You just keep using your spells to remove their cards. You get more value over and over again, so they're out of cards. So next we have Echo. Echo very strong in Echo Zillion. Kind of an insane champ by himself because he's able to get you chrono shifts. You can level him on turn 4 now with the variants that are just turbo leveling him. Pack in the pressure so you refuel with the 0 mana time tricks. Gives you a lot of payoff, getting drop borders, getting time bombs, getting Hexite Crystals, and you can just finish the game with Chrono Break, sometimes even as early as turn 5. The reason he's in C tier, despite being an insanely strong champ himself, is his deck building cost is very high. You have to play him a stream of PNZ with a lot of predict cards, which aren't the best. You kind of like have a shelf like 30-ish cards you need to play Echo, and that deck is just low tier too. But the champion himself is what makes the payoff so strong. With him being leveled up, can automatically win the game with Chrono Shift and stuff like that. So he's really strong. He's kind of why the deck is so strong. It's just that he's stuck with a high deck building cost, put him in C tier. Next is Jace, single-handedly putting 6 mana spells, especially 6 mana slow spells, back in the game. Kind of a thing that's always been bad is 6 mana slow spells, or generally have been. And Jace allows you to get payoff from these and become a huge value engine outright. You also have him with Heimer. Combine with that, you have multiple ways to have consistent value engines and late game payoff. So it's not like, oh, I have to draw Heimer, I have to draw Jace. You can draw one or the other and win the game, or Lux, if you will. Also good in turn 4 to be a challenger unit, just to clear threats. So he's versatile in the mid game and also gives you a way to win the game in the late game. Next we have Scion, a lot weaker now after the nerfs, but still a deck that, or a card, if you will, that a lot of decks can't deal with. If they have like removal spells, then he just gets the returned, and then the return will let you rally and attack again. If they just freeze him or you stress defense is only there for 1 turn being stopped, and you attack again next turn, has a decent amount of health and a decent amount of overwhelm damage, so you're able to just pack on huge damage, and if they kill him, they don't, he's still going through. So yeah, very good control, but definitely a nerf. Swain, really, really good at holding on the game. Turn 8+ with Leviathan. Kind of stun locks your opponent out of the game. Also being win con himself. If he gets 1 attacking, you basically just win. So Swain's easy to level with Ravenous Flock decks. Takes a lot of removal, team decks from their puff caps. And then when you get the Leviathan combo, if your opponent can't deal with it, all their board's stunned, you clear their whole board. You're paying tons of damage each turn, 3+ on Leviathan himself. So Swain just will always be a champion. It's either decent or in certain metas really, really strong. Next we have Soraka Tom. Very counterpicky-esque deck. It kind of hard counters a lot of decks in the meta, but also gets hard counter itself. But nonetheless, it's very strong and it's good matchups. And Soraka's just insane unit. It's just that there's not many other decks you can put her in besides Tom Raka, but in that deck, she's drawing you cards every single turn. She's so hard to kill. She has so much health. Leveling Star Spring like no other, and very, very easy level up conditions, so very strong. Tom Kench, not letting you refuel, but kind of being your continuous removal each turn makes it very hard for your opponent to be in a good spot because you can keep taking their strong units as well as healing him with Soraka, making him hard to kill, giving him bastions so he can't die via spells, and then just locking your opponent out of the game. Next, you have Taric. Taric particularly strong right now with Pantheon, not the best Pantheon build, but still pretty good. Letting you reuse Pale Cascades to draw 2, leveling up Pantheon really, really fast so you can be a refuel. You can put on damage with Zenith Blade, giving things overwhelmed to finish the game. But his most important role is with Golden Aegis. Yes, the rally. You're able to just use the rally on him, attack, get another rally because it duplicates on the one you're supporting, and attack again, just finishing games out of nowhere with just a Taric and a rally in one other unit. Also, he can level pretty fast in the Pantheon decks, so you're able to have invincible units that are attacking multiple times per turn, and just kind of like a more greedy version of the Pantheon decks, but when it pops off, you just win the game with the rallies. Next is Riven. Riven decently statted as a 3-mana 3/4, gives you value each turn with the Blade Fragments, can get things overwhelmed, so you can just push for huge damage with the buffed units in the Pantheon deck, or with like things like Vi and Noxus P and Z decks. You're also get quick attack to your units, your challengers such as Vi. You get free kills, give you safe attacks, and then she levels very fast, becomes a huge win con on her own. Giving the Blade of Exile, you can just finish the game outright. Jinx, bottom of C tier, but still pretty good. Being a bit overshadowed by Rumble and Scion. Scion, when he dies, he gets you another Scion return. It can push for even more damage, so he's going into removal because you still get at least the chip damage at the rally. Rumble is Spell Shield. Jinx, on the downside, doesn't have this protection, so she's a bit less resilient than Rumble and Scion, but still insanely strong. She pops up, giving you the Mech Rocket every single turn, blowing up enemy field, decimating, essentially doing 4 damage, to the enemy Nexus each turn, letting you refuel by drawing 2 cards, and they don't deal with her. You just do it again, 4 more damage, blow up the enemy field, draw 2 more cards, and it's just like snowballs game out of control, just insane burn reach and insane refuel, so very powerful when left unanswered. Next, top of D tier, we have Nautilus and Maokai. Maokai just got buffed. And Deep's not the greatest deck, low tier 2, but still tier 2, and I guess that's good enough to be top of D tier. Nautilus, kind of a I win the game button. Can be answered by Homecoming, but they don't have cards like Homecoming. You just discard all your sea creatures by 4. You can just slam down powerful units, like 0 or 1 mana Abyssal Eye with Elusive, depending if you have the Allure of the Depths or not, giving you just 6 mana elusive, 6 mana elusive. You can play Shipwreck Quarter, your treasures in your deck. For cheap, you can play Devour of the Depths, removing all enemy units and just pushing for huge, fearsome damage. Nautilus kind of is like the whole reason why Sea Creatures is good. So you just play them on turn 7, and decks just cannot deal with a 13/30 tough. That discounts your whole deck, and you win the game. Maokai, another alternate win condition in that deck. He allows you to just get the enemy deck to only have 4 cards left, so you can stall the game out. Then they can't win. This is very, very good against decks like Anivia, decks like SI Freyr, Field of Rush, because those decks are a bit slower, can't really kill you in the 4 turns they have if you can just slow them down. So he just gives you a way to beat these slower, grindier decks. They run their cards and you win. Also can ruin their Field of Rush if they don't draw the champions. It obliterates their deck to only have non-champions left. So also can be high rolly. Like if you do him really early, like you level him say turn 6, that's really fast. You put on a 4-turn clock by turn 6 that they have to finish you. It gives you a sapling every single turn to help block, help control the board, mills your deck very fast to help go deep. Just kind of all around great champion indeed. As you have Nocturne, Nocturne's actually pretty strong. When he is leveled, he allows you to give your whole board fearsome, just go for game, makes the whole board -1 their attack, make it easier to chip away at the fearsomes, gets rid of their unit that can block fearsomes, and you're pushing for 12 plus damage, I feel, on average. When you play Nocturne, the downside is that, again, support cards aren't the greatest, Nightfall cards are okay, but they're just decent, that's that. Nothing crazy. But when you can level Nocturne, very, very strong to go for game, even as early as turn 4 or 5 sometimes. Usually turn 5. And also, when he's leveled now, he also gets the Summon from the Hand, give the enemy -1, -0 for their board, which is a nice buff they gave him, as well as just being hard to deal with and kind of ruining aggressive strategy from enemies when he's leveled. Next, you have Tryndamere. Tryndamere's role is pretty much like the card to play off Field of Rush, because if he's removed by Vengeance, which is pretty popular in the meta, then he just reborns and he gets even stronger. So he's kind of like a huge overwhelming unit that they kill, then he still can push through it and go for game. On turn 8, he's not that bad. I guess you can play him, chip for damage, then go for Atrocity lethal, can choose Battle Fury lethal. Gives you a way to get some payoff with your ramping, with your stalling. But mostly, the best card off Field of Rush, and allows you to just win the game when he's played with Trundle off Field of Rush, and huge overall damage. Next we have Karma. Karma, in D tier, it's not the greatest, but in Karma Dex, Spooky Karma, if you can get the Enlightened, the level of Karma, extremely hard to beat, making your whales double, so you're dealing 2 to the enemy field, healing 6. Your box is doubled, so they play a bunch of units, you can just kill all of them, doing 6 damage to them. You can use, Vengeance, twice, which is you might think why use Vengeance twice, but it plays to deny. It basically is really hard to out value, really hard to outgrind their healing, they're removing all your stuff. It's just pretty much the game gets lost when Karma's leveled, allowing your go hards to be double, getting really quick pack the bags, and then pack the bags. Deal 5 to home main field, so yeah, you can kind of just loot pack your bags after she's leveled and win the game. Ash got buffed, but still not the greatest, at least positioning wise in the meta. Loses to a lot of the higher decks, kind of just out tiered, I guess, or power crept a bit, but levels a lot faster and still pretty strong into Demacia matchups or more combat oriented matchups. Jarvan, kind of on the same token, a bit outsped right now, I guess. But against combat-oriented matchups, he is a good removal with his barrier. Comes down to the field. You can just challenge an enemy, get the barrier, gets a free kill. Levels up decently fast, only needing 3 units to survive combat. And then you're able to level him up. Gives you remove every single turn. Again, him and Shen and Jarvan type things are being outsped right now. But again, in the Demacia matchups, the more combat-based matchups, he can hold on the game and win for sure. Next, we have Azir and Aurelia. Insanely strong against control decks. These cards hard to counter control. That's why they're not F tier. They have a role in D tier. They destroy Field or Rush. They destroy Anivia, that kind of stuff. Azir able to have huge health, being very hard to kill with board clears like Anivia's Avalanches and their Blighted Ravines really don't do it for him. He's still alive. And you have Emperor's Dais that can't really deal with because it's a landmark. And you kind of just have these backward champions of Azir and Emperor's Dais, and they can't deal with it. You keep putting pressure after pressure after pressure, Sandstorms every turn. And then Aurelia is able to finish the game by giving you the Blade Surge to swap, also giving you the False Sword every turn. These are kind of just the control killers, which are very good in meta, where control is heavily buffed and is some of the best decks in the game. They have really good role in tournaments, being like, okay, I'll ban Arcana, and then if they have control decks left over, like, Darkness or Anivia or Field Rush, you just run right through them. So yeah, very, very strong role in the meta, leaving them in at least D tier. Kind of not the greatest for ladder because they kind of fold to things that aren't control, but they do destroy control, and that's very good. Next, you have Nasus. Nasus is not the worst champion. I mean, he's definitely a lot weaker since he got nerfed and his package got nerfed, but a lot of decks just can't deal with a 10-10 like that, You play against like Scouts or more combat-based decks. If you can stabilize till turn 6 and play Nasus, even if he's like a 7-7, he's just getting stronger on the board, get to a 10-10, and then it's just like, wow. Some decks, they look at it like, I can't deal with this 10-10. Like, decks that control, they have the Vengeances and stuff, but if they don't, a lot of high health to live through other board clears and damage like that. So he can just win the game if they don't have an answer for him, and that's good enough to be D tier. Next, we have Malphite. Malphite Talia actually not that bad of a deck. Malphite levels a lot faster, only needing 10 landmarks now. Previously needed 12. And he's able to just stun enemy boards, kind of lock the opponent out once he gets going. If you have him backed with the right negation, he's very hard to deal with negating their vengeance and just stunning enemy board and going for game over and over and over again. Very hard to kill from his high health, so he's definitely a decent champion. As you have Renekton, overall not in the greatest spot right now, and Renekton kind of just needing to be in combat twice and survive and get the combat through, gets stopped by a lot of things, removal spells, stuns, freeze makes it hard to level. But when he goes through, he gets good chip damage in, and if they can't answer, he levels, and he can get +3/+3 every single time he attacks. Very, very good. So still above an F tier champion, but definitely falling off as of lately. Overall always comes back in the meta at some point though, so I can definitely see him on the rise later. Last one, at least we have LeBlanc. LeBlanc's not the worst champion. I mean, she's definitely better than F tier. She can chip in damage turn 3. If they don't have an answer for her, you're chipping 5 damage, which is 1/4 that may help. That's huge tempo in your favor. If they do block her, she has quick attacks, so you're going to either good block or a ton of damage. Very good Ashe decks and Reputation decks to draw off Trifarian Assessor, to start leveling up, getting your reputation value for Whispered Words, leveling up herself. She's just kind of a champion. If you can't deal with, then she's very well-rounded. Makes it trades out of vulnerable because she has quick attack. So if you have like Sivir LeBlanc, stuff like that, you can get use of the Rolling Sand. So overall, 5's quick attack pretty good. They miss a shot, not the greatest, but if they don't, very good. Last one, at least we have F tier. Some of the champions in the higher end are actually not that bad, but the more it goes on, kind of follow the meta, and I guess we can explain why. So top of it is Braum. Braum Vlad, not that bad. Really good against Scouts, which are on the rise right now. If they have Misfortune, you play like Scargrounds or Braum. They just keep pinging you with the bullets from Misfortune, and then it helps us level up, busts up against Scargrounds, and he just kind of has a anti-Scouts role right now. And Braum in general is good to hold on the field, gives you a 3/3. I've had the worst champion, decks that get screwed by him, definitely get screwed by him hard, and that's good. Leona, not bad either. Splashable in some Targon PNZ decks, like the Vi Targon, Zoe Piles. In Daybreak, not that bad either. Has good stats, stuns enemies, which is very strong against decks like Lurk, against like aggro. Doesn't really have too much of a payoff. Like her level's really good with Revumed. You can keep stunning over and over and over again. But she struggles ways, I guess her and her deck struggle in ways to have to finish the game. That's kind of where she lacks, but in general, not like the worst champ. Like she's fine. Darius got buffed to have more health. A bit harder to kill with like Mystic Shots and Flocks now, but overall still around the same. You can splash him in certain aggro's like Spider aggro to be a bomb. Turn 6, you can't answer him. Bam, 10 overall damage. I win the game. But the issue is most decks have answers, kind of loses everything under sun, loses to stuns, loses to freezes, loses to homecoming, like recall, stuff like that. But if they don't have a deck that has those cards, or they don't have them in hand, pushes huge damage. That's his role. It's like, okay, he's like an I win button, answered by a lot of things, but if you don't have that answer, you're going to lose. Next we have Shen, kind of falling off. Battle City has a lot of pings, like Group Shot. They have Poke Sticks, kind of getting rid of barriers very easily. Barriers in general are just not as great right now. The SI Fair control decks don't really care too much about barriers. Like, yeah, it keeps your units alive, but they don't really care about the combat trades. Like, you're not getting these challenger trades in their units because their units are like Trundle, or they're not really playing many units. So just kind of not really doing too much in the meta. It's a lot of times just like a 4-mana attack and not do nothing, but I know barriers aren't what they used to be. There are metas where barriers are very strong and getting good trades, and this isn't one of them. But I could definitely see Shen coming back in different metas where it's more unit-based, more combat-based, and he's very good in those metas. Next is Victor. Definitely not the worst champion. Like, he comes and goes every few metas. He's able to get keywords, and if you high roll them, such as like Spell Shield, Overwhelm, Elusive Scout, you can push on insane damage, Lifesteal good versus aggro. He can definitely snowball out of control very fast if you level him up, giving your whole all your credit cards, which a lot of times in his deck you have a lot of credit cards, discounts, playing everything for cheap. So yeah, he's good. It's just a bit too slow, you know. You have to put on the field, and then you only get one Hexworthy each turn. They cost one of themselves. They're slow. So yeah, when he still has control, you will probably win. But if he takes a while to get there, they can kill you before that happens. Next is Yasuo. Yasuo giving you the payoff for the stuns. Kind of gets a little bit better each season. Good with Leona in the Targon decks. Good with Noxus, with Phlox, Orchid Sentries. Certain matchups, like I guess like combat-based decks, like rally-based decks, you can stun, kind of screw them over, but pretty useless right now against Arkennen, against SI Fair Control. He's good when he pops off, but a lot of the problem with this deck is a core issue that's been rooted there since the beginning, where it's if you don't draw Yasuo, you have these stun cards that don't really do anything. You kind of need Yasuo. So yeah, he's good in his decks, putting on like, I guess, the higher end of F tier, but the decks themselves have problems. That's a big deck building cost to have a deck. Every game you play, you have a chance of just not drawing Yasuo, and your whole deck just doesn't really function. Actually, you have Aphelios, not the greatest, but in some champs, at least, you know, 3/3 that gives you value. Definitely very hard to level right now. You need 4 moon weapons. Now they cost more. That doesn't really happen. But, you know, still, Targon's good at getting value and capitalizing off outgrinding opponents. He can give you these moon weapons, and if you can stay on the board, that's fine. Obviously, it's not good, but compared to the other F tier champions, it's okay. But he's still an F tier for a reason, definitely fallen off a good bit. He used to be like, you know, one of the best champs in the game. Now just gets you like a moon weapon at that, and that's pretty much all he does. So actually you have Lucian. Lucian, so he made a 3/2 quick attack's not the worst. That's why he's like, I guess like the one good thing about him, but there's a lot of downsides. Very easy to kill. He takes up a champion slot for a card that's kind of just a follower, you know, 3/2 quick attack. Doesn't really do anything. You're down, you know, power champions to pick from this game, and you're picking a 3/2 quick attack. It's just a huge deck building cost. Very hard to level, only levels in certain decks with Haunted Relic and stuff like that. Those decks are kind of like not the greatest, like meme decks, I guess. So yeah, just really easy to answer before he levels. Not really doing too much to impact the game. Takes up champion slot. But when he does level, getting Riot Return is insane. Getting double attack's insane. So huge payoff if you can pull him off. And so you have Vlad. Vlad's good in the Braum decks. Again, they're good against scouts. Kind of just the aggro payoff. You can hit your whole field, make them all buff by Scar Grounds. Good with People Splash Might sometimes. Pushes tons of damage. When he levels, you can also heal. Good to recover some lost health. Lets you kind of seal the deal to win the game with the Braum Vlad deck after you've already stabilized a bit. And you can just finish them off with healing and damage and stuff like that. So Vlad, not bad. Next is Fiora. Obviously, being a 3/2, not the greatest in the meta. Now decides to like Mystic Shots. All kinds of stuff. Not good against Arcane. They can just recall her. They can stun her. Tons of answers to Fiora in the meta, but if you play against aggro sometimes, plus you have protection for her, like say you have like her plus, I guess, a good amount of sharp sights and like maybe you run Chain Vest or something, then you can try and win through her level up form if they don't have interaction with, again, the decks like aggro, don't have answers to her, and you can win the game like that. Tristana, not the greatest. Kind of just doesn't really do too much. Definitely about better since her buff, giving you more payoff. On her level up form, giving herself more impact and stuff, and giving your other units impact. The issue is that her main deck was like a Battle Gunner's Atrocity Tenor of Terror type deck, and they nerfed Tenor of Terror, one of the main cards that worked with her to level up fast and get a lot of payoff from her. They also nerfed Bouncy Mare, which is very good in her deck, so she herself got better, but her deck got nerfed, making her kind of still stuck in the F tier range. All right, now we're in the final 4 champions. I feel like these 4 are particularly weak, and I guess I'll just go over why real quick, but we can just finish it off quick, just so you guys can conclude the video and see who the best and worst champs are. So Garen, kind of just outdated. He's just power crap. Like a 5-mana 5/5 with regen, that's like not bad, I guess, but very easy to answer, especially cards Ravenous Flock. Like Ravenous Flock, 1-mana deal 4, so you just block him and then flock him, and then he's just done. Can die before he levels up. You can recall him. You can stun him. He's just very fair, very answerable. He's good when he's not answered, but he's just a huge mana commander in a meta where, Aura Cannon just stuns him with Mark of the Storm or recalls him with Homecoming. Callista, kind of just a follower at this point. She's good in Fearsome as a Fearsome unit. 3 out of 4 3 Fearsome, it's not bad. But her level up is kind of awkward. A lot of times in the Fearsome decks, your units just don't die like that. If you play Harrowing or your units just so happen to die, it's a nice level up. It just feels like, it's kind of like Lucian, where it's like, you're putting this champion deck that takes up 3 champ spots. That's just way weaker than all the other champions you can pick from with this powerful array of champions in the game right now. So there's more of a follower than a champ right now, being very weak compared to the rest of the cast. Katarina, having huge issues as always. It's just not good to play a card that leaves the field. Like, you're paying 3 mana, attacking, and then just leaving the field. So, like, you're losing the 3 mana, losing a lot of tempo, losing board control, losing steam. You have to replay her, which is nice to get a rally, but you're paying 7 mana at that point just for the Katarina rally. The Blade Dead is nice to have, 1 damage pings. You have to pay for that as well. So, like, she's not bad to finish the game with certain, meme decks like Legion Marauders, or, like, she's not, like, the worst champ in terms of when she's level, you can finish the game with her. But you definitely can't build around her, and a lot of times drawing her is bad. Drawing multiples is clunky, so to play 1. And it's just, you're at a huge risk pretty much every time you try and play Cat, because she will lead the field, giving your opponent a chance for counterplay to make a huge push. And it's like, wow, by the time I play Katarina again, like, they already reclaimed board and are pushing on huge damage. It's just too late because I just gave up field control. Last but not least, Hecarim. Just not really pushing much damage anymore like he used to. In the beta, Spectre Riders were 3 attack units, now they're 2. He just is outclassed. Like, even Darius pushing 10 overwhelm damage is huge. He's not pushing much. You can easily block his Spectral Riders. When he's leveled up, he has an aura effect, so if you kill him or remove him from the field while he's attacking, all the units that were buffed, like the Ephemerals are buffed, lose their buff mid-combat, which kind of just alleviates all the pressure. So he just isn't putting out much pressure anymore. Kind of hard to level without a specific deck. Aura effect's not that good when he's leveled up, and he easily loses to all kinds of things, like, again, stuns, homecoming, removal. It's just like, 6 mana is a huge commitment to not be pushing that much damage, as well as being easily answered. And that's my tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what you think. This is all my opinion, of course. I did talk to a lot of other very good players to kind of, like, get their takes too, to make it have a very, very credible tier list. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, what you disagree with, what you agree with, what you just think about the champions, your favorite champions, where they stack up. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.